Yeah, so there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
You're in practice session, start webinar. Here we go. We're
Okay,
live.
Great. So welcome to the Human Rights Commission meeting. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law. Consistent with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 10 people, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to all the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. Additionally, all votes taken by the Gloucester Human Rights Commission during this and future remote meetings will be by roll call vote. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer or device, there's a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. I realize that's going out to no one, those last instructions. All members of the commission should turn on their video if possible when voting so that their faces can be seen. If voting by video, members should turn their video on when they vote. If voting by phone, members must first identify themselves. No voting by text or any other manner. Members of the public who speak at the meeting must provide their name and address in order to speak on any matter that comes forward on the agenda. Okay, so let's call to order. We have Holly Dugwillow, Hannah Kimberly, Krishna Basu, Paul Wasserman, Mayuza Alves, Tony Borge, Nikki Rishon Scholl, Sarah Peck, Jennifer Beloff, and Jen Holmgren, and someone who is BCC2 at Gloucester. I don't.
That's
That's
me.
That's
I'm
the
from-
IT department.
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
here in the background in case you need help.
Okay.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, so that's our introduction. We want to review and approve minutes from our December 14th meeting. Anybody like to approve those?
Oh, I move to accept the minutes as written.
I second.
Great, thanks. Okay, so we'll start off this evening with the idea of translation services, which Jen Holmgren had, I think maybe a discussion with Ryan Knowles about it. Jen, can you speak to that? She might just be listening. I know she's on her phone. We also received on the same topic an email from a Gloucester citizen asking, would it be possible for the city to purchase devices such as translation devices for people to use to help them accomplish business transactions at City Hall, or to assist them so that they could participate at city committee and board meetings. I will show you the picture of what she sent as an example. So just share my screen real quick. Oh, it's disabled. So essentially it's an instant voice language translator device.
It's enabled now, Hannah. You can share.
Oh,
If you
great, thanks. So this is the example that she sent to me. So translator device, two-way Wi-Fi. And I think she's just wanting a few of those, or asking if we can get a few of those. And I can share this image with you in an email later,
Okay.
but it's real-time voice and text translation. Okay. So I don't know, how does that work, Krishna? In terms of where would we get funding for?
I'm wondering in regards to, even before, the funding, is that how would you set up the procedure so that, you know, you wouldn't give that to somebody. I mean, it's probably different, like the schools give students Chromebooks, but
Right,
you understand the necessity. I mean, it's one thing, again, if we were physically in the building where then we would have those there and somebody could come up and sign from them and then back, and they would be considered city property.
right.
If purchased with city funds. So it's a great idea. But it, you know, it's in regards to the whole
COVID,
logistics in,
Right.
you know, how that would, you know, sign out, how many would you need? You know, I think that there's a lot of things that would, you know, it's a bit more complex than just purchasing.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It
was
should-
wondering the same.
But I was wondering, like, is that even a thing that the city could purchase if we thought about it and worked through the logistics of it?
Well, Holly and I could definitely, have an inquiry to the mayor's office to see what the procedure would be. I guess one question I had, just so that I have all the information, would it be something that city staff could have and then they would be able to understand someone speaking in a different language and it would translate the city employees' advice or answers?
Yes, I think that's what she was asking.
Okay.
So for
I
the city
wonder-
to have devices like this, she says, for people to use to help them accomplish business at City Hall.
Yeah, I was wondering if it would be possible, again, when, we're meeting live, to hook it up with something that, for example, a computer that would provide the translation rather than, rely on, passing around one handheld unit.
Yeah, and almost if you could almost have like, it could be like closed captioning, you know, or
Yeah.
people, or if you think about like in the UN where people, wear headphones, but,
Right.
again, we're talking, I mean, it's great we have this technology, but yeah, it's so important, and as we get into and realizing the levels that are needed, to ensure that we're providing that support. But yeah, I think that, if we, and maybe, well, I didn't even know whether at Zoom, can you do closed captioning in Zoom, or I don't even know.
I don't know.
Because you think even if people aren't speaking another language, but if you are hearing impaired, how does someone participate? And that's also, I think, Americans with Disabilities Act issue, and I know everybody must be confronting with that. How do we support people that are hearing impaired, so that if that is possible, does Zoom do closed captioning?
I don't think that Zoom does. I know that Google Classroom does. Just from my teaching experience.
Yeah.
You would think that Zoom would want to do that because so many agencies use Zoom.
Yes. I mean, that's me speaking in terms of Zoom from last March when we all went virtual on the schools. So they might now have it.
I don't know Zoom to have that capability. I do know it to have the capability to host like multiple channels for translations. And I know that Microsoft Teams has the ability to close caption in different languages live. But I don't think that Zoom does.
Okay. So where would you all like to go from here?
What about even if we start with a simple proposal to the city for a pilot where you purchase one for the city clerk's office or for where they get the most traffic, to get a study done on how much traffic uses it, and so we can have some data to make a further recommendation to the city?
I think that's an excellent idea.
And
Folks?
does this provide, like how many languages does it offer? Because I know that I sent an email where right now I think we can assume that probably the majority speaking after English would be Spanish and Portuguese, or, whether it's, Cape Verde Portuguese or Brazilian Portuguese. But I think that, we want to also look at school intake data to see how many other languages are being spoken here, as we're, getting more sizable numbers of people coming in.
Mhm.
Or maybe a survey to the city department heads as to what they see, what languages they see the need of coming into their offices are.
Yeah, but I know also, that in the schools, there's, the school enrollment will also give us an idea of, the different languages that are spoken in school. Because, one thing is that you can have people, because of their experience, they may not be coming, they're not want to be aware of what the city hall, services that there are there, because, living in rural areas or whatever, that fear of the government. So they may not be coming to City Hall, but if we're aware of that, and maybe then also thinking about working with the school, and if they have parent information centers, so that as we get all this planned and put together, how would we, think about how does that information go out?
Mhm.
And one of the things, as again, there's a number of, not so much here in Gloucester, but we're all aware that there's a number of people that may not be supportive of having translated services, and nothing worse than saying, oh, we spent all this money on translation services, but nobody's using it. Well, it's kind of like, oh, that you build it and so they come. Well, for them to come, they have to know where it is. And one way, I think, is working through the school. As we're looking at that plan, I think, I think it's great if we look at, doing, how do we, what's the stepping stones that we, need to take to get this.
I wonder if there's any device that could function as a CC reader and translate. I was looking today on the on our website for the Human Rights Commission, and of course there are minutes posted there. And it occurred to me that if there was some way to provide a link either for translation and or the hearing impaired, would there, and that was embedded, as along with the minutes, if that's something that people could click on and then receive the translation or the CC closed caption actual report.
I think, I don't know if you could do it live, but I do know that YouTube has will automatically close caption any video that you upload. You can so it's the kind of thing that we could do after the fact. We could upload onto YouTube
Right.
and then get a full closed caption of all of our meetings.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining. Yeah.
It exists.
Okay. We don't have to invent it. Wonderful.
And, and that is one way where the city will show that in some way, compliance, and I know we're going to be having somebody from the Disability Rights Commission, sitting on our, which is wonderful, but, to ensure that, how we're in compliance with the ADA. And, that might be, as we're looking at that, we're working in tandem with providing services to our community, yet, and also making sure that we're meeting the needs, in compliance with the laws and regulations.
Right.
Great. Okay, good. How do we want to go about getting a survey? And are we thinking that schools are the best way? It seems like that might be
Well, they should have that data collected. So I think we want to check maybe with the school department to get their, the demographic data, from the, of the student population.
Okay. Who would like to do that?
I'll do it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tony. Okay, wonderful. Our next topic at hand is homeless services.
Hey. So I just wanted to take a moment, let you know what kind of services that we are providing for Gloucester residents at this point in time. As many of you know, you've seen on the news, read in the paper, we have a higher number of people facing homelessness due to loss of income due to the virus. And we also have a great deal of landlords that are struggling as their tenants aren't able to pay their rent as well. So it's kind of like this vicious cycle. And then we also have landlords that are evicting people or trying to evict people wrongfully. So I just wanted to let everyone know that there are services available. At Action, we have a client services department. Within that department, there's a whole advocacy team, and individuals can call the main office and set up an appointment to virtually meet with an advocate. And they will work with a client who's facing eviction, who's having a hard time paying rent, who is facing homelessness within days, who is already homeless. They work with both individuals and families. They help with benefits advocacy and navigating the systems to help make sure they're getting all the benefits they're entitled to, such as food stamps, Social Security, unemployment. I will say, as far as the unemployment assistance, we do refer out to other centers for assistance. We're not experts in that, and it's been very complicated lately with all the changes. But I would say since the pandemic started, we have been able to access city funds, private funds, and have been able to provide tenant-based rental assistance for individuals who have experienced loss of income from the virus. That can provide anywhere from 6 months to a year of rental assistance for those who qualify, as assuming that it was COVID related. And that is also for landlords as well. So I just want to make sure that people know that that is a resource in the community, as many people are struggling to maintain their housing. And then we also work with other agencies to help people apply for RAFT, which is also a tenant preservation program that helps with rental assistance. And a lot of these programs can be used layered on top of each other to extend the period of time to keep someone housed, while hopefully they can get income back coming into the house or other sources of benefits to help offset, so they have more money to put towards rent. But those services are there. And if anyone has been displaced or is now homeless, we do have a shelter. The shelter has changed based on COVID and the requirements per CDC. We've had to lower the number of residents that we can have at the current time. However, we are able to make referrals and help someone navigate into another shelter if that's what they're looking to do. If there's no other place, we do have, I like to call them survival equipment. We have access to tents, tarps, sleeping bags, items that can keep someone warm in the outside elements, food. So we have access and are capable of providing referrals to make sure people are getting those needs met. So I just wanted to make sure that people are aware of these services, as some of them are new and have only come online through us advocating to the city and to other private donors to get access to tenant-based rental assistance, as we've seen it. It's such a need in this community.
Yeah.
Can I ask two questions? Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if the councils on aging or the executive office on aging are resources that would be important to tap into, because I know that particularly now there's a growing emphasis and a growing need for support services that will help elderly folks stay at home. And those needs may go beyond things like rental assistance. They may require certain kinds of services, volunteer services maybe in the community, but I think that's another group of people that we really need to be aware of and see if we can help.
Yeah,
provide.
especially we work closely with the Housing Authority and Senior Care because there are a lot of unmet needs in that area. And, there are limitations with COVID around availability of having someone in and out of elders units if they live in public housing or other congregate living. So there's been some barriers, but we try to work with the Council on Aging and Senior Care and the Gloucester Housing Authority to at least make sure they're aware of all the services we have available. Especially, we don't want to see anyone who's in need of support services or, who is considered 65 and above, facing eviction. And we want to make sure the wraparound services that we can provide are in place.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is a link or, something like that, like where, you're talking about the services that, can we have a link put on
Yeah.
our website?
Sure.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and for anyone who doesn't know, it's, www.actioninc.org.
And then
And
have it
all
on our,
of the information is listed there.
and have it on the, our human rights. Is that possible? So we would have it. So if somebody was going on looking and they go on Human Rights Commission in the city and they'll be, oh yeah, here's housing, information.
Hannah, is that something I would send to you to link it up? Who would link that?
I don't have access to the city website.
I can work with that for you,
Okay.
Jennifer. Send it to me and
Okay.
I'll see. I can't promise that it's allowed, but I will certainly reach out to the right people and see what
Yeah,
we can
because
do.
I know we've linked with other things on the city side. Mhm.
I just wondered
And
if we
can you
could,
say anything about numbers? I don't know where my little wave thing is, but I was just curious if you have any sense of the numbers of people who can be sheltered in Gloucester, and also what the underserved or unserved gap might be.
So I don't have an official count this week. I do know that we are doing what's called a point in time count. It's the last Wednesday of January. It happens every year. And the information gets reported back to HUD. This year, it's a little bit different because of COVID, and they've allowed for some waivers so that people aren't putting themselves at risk when they go out to do the count. But usually after that, we have a better idea. I can say that anyone that, if on days of extreme weather, the city has partnered with LifeBridge of the North Shore to create extended hours at the Grace Center. And so now they are open till 8 p.m. in the evening, and on a day and Saturday and Sunday, 8 to 4. And on days of extreme weather, for those individuals that are considered homeless, they have access to overnight shelter, whereas that would usually be our responsibility. We had other systems in place, but given COVID, we were unable to address that. So we partnered with the city, and the city partnered with LifeBridge of the North Shore, so that individuals are still getting the same access to protection on, extreme weather days. Whereas nothing is open in this, there's limits to where people can go in the city now. You can't go and congregate and at least get warm before you have to be out all night. So the city was excellent in partnering with and really identifying that there was a need. But the point in time count is this coming Wednesday. I can say that as far as people in need of rental assistance, we had applied for rental assistance through the city of Gloucester, through the community preservation. And we received, I think it was $100,000, and that was right after the pandemic started. So I would say between April and May. And that has been depleted. So the need is there. It's growing. Most of those funds were layered with other funds to extend, because as we know, with more restrictions, people weren't able to get back to work. Some people couldn't get back to work because they are high risk themselves. So we were able to layer other funding sources to assist people even longer. And we continue to advocate to replenish these funds because we don't see that need going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
But there are resources for people who are struggling. And we want to make sure that people know that information so that they can access these services, so we can help keep them housed to the best of our capability. And if they are getting eviction notices, now that the moratorium had been lifted, are they being handled appropriately? And just because a landlord sends you something that you have to vacate your property in 30 days, legally you don't have to. I mean, there's a
Well-
process that goes, there's an eviction process.
And
many
I believe
people-
the moratorium was just extended nationwide.
it was just extended. I've been leading up to,
Oh,
we had a chunk of time where the moratorium was lifted,
right.
from October 17th on, and we saw a lot of cases being brought forward. And so a lot of people panic when they get that first notice to quit, or 30-day notice, or 14-day notice, and think just because they get that, they have to vacate. But they do not. So we always encourage anyone who receives something like that from the landlord to set up an appointment with an advocate so that we can help walk them through what the process is.
Great. Sarah, you had a question.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was answered. I mean, what part of it was, I wondered, and obviously you had the 100,000 in rental assistance, and I wondered if you had additional assistance for example, for people that are actually struggling with their landlords who are pressuring them to move out or want them to leave, and if you had like assistance for like first month security deposit, that kind of stuff, if you help with people with that when they're in like
We do.
That's great to know.
So we also have other funds that in the TBR, we have other tenant-based rental assistance programs that
Mhm.
aren't tied to COVID related that can assist with those kinds of things as well.
That was that's
So we
great.
do have funds that assist with that, and we do have advocates that help mediate and work with the tenant and the landlord.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's, it can be resolved. Sometimes if we're working with a landlord and they just know their tenant's working with action,
Mhm.
that can buy more time and can help resolve things. And if a tenant in the community is working with one of our advocates, they do have access to a housing lawyer who
Okay.
works at Northeast Housing. They have to be seeing one of our advocates and they have to get a referral from them, but we also have that as a added resource.
Wow.
And I don't know what the rules are, Holly, but based on the rules, I mean, I'd love for us to be able to share a little bit more information than just like an outbound link on if we could actually share some like the specific information about like extension of the eviction moratorium, the
Mhm.
specific like things that Action Inc. can provide in terms of assistance, housing lawyers, all of that. It'd be really useful, I think, if people came to our site just to see it.
Sure, and there's also, I caught the tail end on the managers meeting last week that the library is putting together some type of a resource,
Yes, we're part of that
documentation.
as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which I thought, oh, wow, but the Human Rights Commission has to get their stuff on there also. It's not in place yet. But yes, you're right. If we get Paige together, we can kind of work together and get everything hooked up. I'll
Yeah,
see what I
one
can do.
central place.
Yeah.
Right now we're seeing individuals who are just overwhelmed, been put on hold, told to call this person, and feeling like they're not getting anywhere, but they're in crisis mode.
Right.
And part of our rental assistance program is to respond fairly rapidly, at least, to give someone a peace of mind that their rent is going to be paid, or that there's a contract with the landlord acknowledging the rent will be paid, so that, their quality of life can improve, the stress level can go down, they can focus on other things. So we are seeing a high volume of people in need in the community.
Ollie reminded me that I think it's called gloucesterconnection.org. That's the
Thank you.
libraries. And it actually has some translation services, I believe, that we could look into as well, going back to our other topic.
I was wondering if, is this something that Good Morning Gloucester that could be posted on, the blog? And if people are familiar
Yeah.
with it?
I have access to that.
Yeah.
And we have met with we meet with Good Morning Gloucester frequently. You'll see our executive director or many of us on there to discuss any new programs, old programs that we just want to make sure we're getting the message out.
Maybe just this commission, the information on
Yeah.
this commission also would be wonderful
Yeah.
in whatever outreach we're going to have. Very good.
1623 Studios also contacted me and asked if I would talk about the commission. And I said, we've only had one meeting. Yes, I will. So I told them let's get a few more meetings under our belts, and then I would reach back out to them. So this would be perfect information to give them as well. So I'm making a note now to put that on my list of things to tell them about. Great. Okay. Discussion on updating the language in city codes. Do we have any?
Do we have someone assigned to that?
I have information. Oh, no. Well, not city codes per se, but I have information on the website. I'm sorry I jumped in late.
That's fine.
Greetings.
Would it be possible to share my screen?
If you just go down to the share screen at the bottom of
Oh,
your,
great.
yeah, should be able to just fire it right up.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. And, oh, please. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Terrific. Okay. So Ryan Knowles, our new IT director, sent me a lot of information, which I can distribute that to, well, however you all would like it. Hannah, if you'd like me to send it to the Human Rights Commission email address, or your email addresses individually, I'd be happy to do that. Although I don't think I have them. Maybe I should just send it to Hannah. But basically,
Forward them to everyone, Jen.
oh, thank you. Okay, beautiful. All right. So the by and large, the beach page had the most visitors in 2020, which I guess is no surprise. The home page was in second place, and then the civic alerts page was in third place. And that's great because the city has these civic alerts that you can sign up for via email, and you can also just take a look and get updates based on that. But in these two columns here on the left, we can kind of see the number of visitors over the course of last year. And I mean, once COVID disappears, that the numbers are definitely going to change again. But I'm really glad to see that so many people, 98,000 people accessed the city website for the COVID info. So that's encouraging. Let me see. And they've broken it down by what type of device people use, and smartphone, that's certainly no surprise. The most frequent searches are here, beaches. So yeah, just some really interesting numbers here. So we can start to do the work of translating based on priority. And I think it would be nice. It would be really good for public relations for the city if we had beach information in multiple languages. So here are just some line graphs. So I don't know if I went too fast, stop me. but that's the info I got from our IT department. And Ryan's really flexible. He can give us a lot of different information that we might need. So this is really encouraging. I don't know how you all feel about it.
Yeah, I
But,
think I think there's a lot of useful information in that data
mhm,
that, if we can perhaps study it
mhm.
and formulate some questions or, discussion issues and then get back with you, that might be helpful. Yeah, I find that data very informative.
Excellent. All right, I'll send it along to Hannah, and she can distribute it to all of you.
Great.
Great. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to form, Paul, you sounded interested, a subcommittee to look at that data?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a look at it. Mhm.
Okay. All right. This is exciting. Sarah, we're going to go to you next for an overview of other human rights commissions.
Great. Yes, I'll share my screen. And thanks for that, Jen. That was fascinating to see. It kind of made me laugh that like Winger Chic is top 3. Let me see. Oh, for some reason it does not. It wants sharing my desktop. Can you see my Word doc right now?
There it
Yes.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I will go up to the top. So I just did a brief look at some of the local human rights commissions that have been established. They've been around for a long time. I know about them because I've participated in events of theirs. So it's interesting to see how they're kind of designed and how different human rights commissions have very different mandates from each other. So for example, the Cambridge Human Rights Commission has a very specific mandate to essentially enforce 2 major ordinances, one their human rights ordinance and one their fair housing ordinance. So they actually have the ability to enforce fair housing action. And so each of these human rights commissions has specific intake forms. Cambridge's is interesting. It's embedded in their site. It's translated into 8 different languages. So that's something that, yeah, it is. And if you go to Cambridge's website, they have all of the fair housing documentation translated into 8 different languages. They have the ordinances translated. So they're really on top of it when it comes to this kind of work. And then I won't go into all of the details of this, but they have the specific ordinances, the code, so what exactly they work on and respond to. And then they actually have their process outlined. So the Human Rights Commission kind of takes the intake and then they decide whether or not their attorney, so they have an attorney affiliated with a commission that can investigate and meet with the person. And then they have an opportunity to kind of go through their process. So it's very specific with a specific mandate, whereas Arlington's is a lot broader, and Arlington's feels like a lot more kind of community oriented. I think that their mandate looks like mirrors Gloucester's a little bit more, but I will send this around to Hannah. I can send this to you and you can kind of distribute this.
Sure.
So I have detailed information on their mandate, and a part of what they do is just like education events. So they also make a lot of public statements on human rights issues that are current. They have like monthly coffee with the commissioner where anybody can kind of call in and talk to one of their human rights commissioners. So they definitely have like nice kind of rapport with the community. I've gone to events. They held an event for Black Lives Matter a couple months ago with a whole bunch of different speakers from the community. And so they do not only significant just intake for people that feel that their rights have been discriminated, but they also do a lot of like education, community-based events. Boston just reinvigorated in this last year their Human Rights Commission. It's just been activated. The people have just been put on. I thought an interesting thing that we might be able to do is just kind of connect with them to see how they evolve and what they're doing to evolve as they grow. It just added us in as a comparison point, where our website currently lives, how our mandate is defined. And then just based on looking around, I thought that one of the things that we should do fairly quickly is determine what kind of things we are responding to, which I think is one of the next things on this agenda, and establish an official intake form that probably goes to our either central email or is embedded in the document. I love the idea of us kind of spearheading and hosting events around key human rights dates. I think that's something that could like build awareness about the Human Rights Commission. It might be a little bit ambitious, but March 8th is International Women's Day. It's a big day. A lot of things will be happening. So that is something that if we could participate or join in to other kind of citywide events that might be happening. And then the big one would be December 10th, which is International Human Rights Day. So maybe we can plan for a big awareness event on that day. And then I will include some just background reading in this document about really well-established human rights commissions, what they do, what their mandates are. And I think one that's fascinating to look at is the LA Human Rights Commission, which has been around for a very long time and has over the years actually developed very specific programs and projects that are kind of like their own significant endeavors. So it's kind of a long trajectory, but there's a lot that we could do as this commission evolves by kind of taking a look around.
Sarah, does the state have a human rights commission?
The state of Massachusetts,
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think so. I should know the answer to that, but I don't know the answer to that. I'll look it up.
Yeah, just curious.
I don't, anything else? I knew I kind of ran through that. I figured people might want to kind of browse on their own time if I send this around.
Yeah,
Sure.
Can I just ask you a question? Just curious, just because I'm taking notes. What did you kind of see for us in spearheading these human rights days? Like what would you like to see us do?
Well, I know that, I
Like,
mean,
give me an idea.
I mean, I know the mayor's office has like hosted all sorts of events around like LGBTQ rights and on like key other key dates. I mean, on International Women's Day, I think it would be really interesting to have maybe a panel of speakers come and talk about different like right now, for example, we just had a changeover in the administration, and that actually will have deep and lasting impacts, right, on legislation. I mean, right now, like our administration is about to repeal the Global Gag Act, right, which has a myriad kind of impacts on women throughout the world. There's pieces of legislation right now, like the Global Her Act, that would protect women worldwide. So, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of things that we could do in terms of just like general education by bringing a key set of panelists. Again, March 8th might be a little bit ambitious for that endeavor. I don't know. But I like the idea. Arlington's Human Rights Commission regularly does these kind of like public awareness events where they bring in different community members or different speakers that represent like, I don't know, different aspects of this work. So yeah, like public education events.
I really like that idea.
I do too.
Yeah, I do too.
And I feel like it would introduce the Human Rights Commission to a broader swath, because right now we're having these like Zoom meetings and a couple of people are attending, but something like this that people are interested in, and that will, like, frankly, after the last 4 years, I think will really strike a chord with a lot of people. A lot of people are interested. So, you know, I think it would be a good way to get the Human Rights Commission kind of on people's minds.
Sure.
That's great, Sarah. Thank you.
Can I ask a historical question? I know that the Human Rights Commission had previously been a commission and had been working. I guess, does anyone, I'm curious as to the history, like how long it was working and what were some of the main tasks that they worked on, or were like just some of the history to know like what the original Human Rights Commission was
Just know that it
working on?
faded out in the 90s.
I wish I knew.
Would there be in the city, I mean, because with the records for the meetings, you know?
It would probably be in the archives, right?
Yeah, I would think.
But it's been that long since the commission was in full operation?
As far as I know.
Okay.
But we could ask at the archives. That could be a thing. Are the archives still functioning?
They
They are.
are. Yep,
Okay. Are they still there every Friday, half day?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that they're most days.
There. Okay. Would you like me to contact the archive?
I don't mind. I can contact the archives and see what
Okay.
kind of information I could dredge up on.
Yeah, I
the-
mean, if no one, I was just curious, the history.
I can see.
I think you can email them at archives@gloucester-ma.gov. I think you can probably just kind of put that out there and ask if they could, do maybe a research and see if they could come up with any meeting notes or
Sure.
something.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously there was a original mandate, so be interesting to see where we started or where it started and how it evolved.
And I just Googled Massachusetts Civil Rights. It's MCAD, and they are human civil rights. So Massachusetts does have MCAD. Yeah, which I should have known too.
That's great. Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about a process where we identify and prioritize issues to address. Nikki, do you want to jump
Yeah,
in on this?
I
Okay.
will, yeah. I just wanted to say that this came up for me partly because I was approached a couple of times by people who had read in the paper that I was on the Human Rights Commission. And they asked this question, like one of them I think was a sexual harassment in the workplace situation. There are a couple of different situations, but they asked, like, how would I approach the Human Rights Commission? Is there somebody I can meet with? I mean, all those questions that actually Sarah just outlined in the Cambridge and Arlington ones in particular. So I just thought at some point, maybe I missed something along the way, but at some point, first we need to have either all of us or some of us come together and identify at least broadly what issues we feel as a commission that we would respond to.
Yeah, that sounds like a task for, can we have another? I mean, I feel like that's a bigger task than just a hour-long meeting.
It's okay to have more than one subcommittee, just as long as there's not a quorum. And I'm not sure if the same people can be on two different subcommittees. I don't think that's how they do it on the planning board, but I could be wrong. I don't know if Krishna or Holly, if either of you are aware.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm certainly would be happy to be on like a subcommittee to kind of delve a little bit deeper into like those other mandates and how they have intake forums and like how they determine, how issues get distributed or what they take on and what they don't take on. I do believe that like in some of that background research, it really is about enforcing like basic human rights law and discrimination law. So that I think we could delve a little bit deeper and come up with a proposal.
Yeah, I like that idea. And I think, yeah, I mean, if there was going to be a subcommittee, we could do all of those process questions. It seems to me like, looking at the other commissions' intake forms, and I did look into Cambridge as well, and looking at their intake form, and part of it describes to the people who might be contacting the commission what exactly is a human rights violation. Those kind of nuts and bolts pieces, I think, is what I was thinking about.
Just make sure any subcommittee meeting is posted on the city website with an agenda. It can be brief. Make sure someone takes minutes, and if I can attend, I'd certainly be happy to.
What if it's a subcommittee of one?
That's a good question.
It's not a committee.
It's not a committee. That's just an
Just homework.
independent research.
So are you saying that there could be 3 people would be considered this, because 4 people are part of a quorum, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes,
So it
that's
would
right.
Ah,
Okay, so for this subcommittee, I am looking at Nikki, Sarah, and Jen. Is that a true statement?
sounds good to me.
Okay,
Jen Beloff or me?
you, because you
Okay.
said you were interested.
I was just gonna ask that. I wasn't sure.
I'm a non-voting member. So I'm the city
Liaison?
council rep.
So
So I'd be happy to attend, but I wouldn't be able to vote either way.
I mean, I'm happy to participate because I'm quite curious in the topic. And I'd be curious to know, do we also get an opportunity to speak with the city's legal around what are within our bounds to address and what are not in our bounds, you know, so that we have that kind of parameter?
That would be good to know. Krishna, how do you feel about that?
It's a good question. I mean, I'd be happy to review anything that the subcommittee would, you know, comes up with as far as an intake form, but I'm not sure if it would be appropriate for me to advise prior to that.
I can also do like a little bit, I just did, you know, an external set of like research, but I can certainly reach out to human rights commissioners at Cambridge and Arlington and ask them about how they like develop their mandate and what it specifically looks like. So I'm happy to take that on too.
Thank you,
Great.
Sarah.
Do you all want to establish a meeting time now, or will you do that via email?
Do we now? Okay, now this is my my inexperience showing here, but do we need to vote to create subcommittees?
Oh, yeah.
I think we should.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then should we, well, I'm saying we, I'm not even a voting member of this body, but should the vote be posted on the next agenda? That seems a little unwieldy, doesn't it? I don't know if that's maybe.
I didn't even know subcommittees needed to be voted on, so anything you can provide.
Yeah.
I would think maybe if there's a motion and a vote, that should be fine, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
We do that now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make an motion to form a subcommittee which will establish the process where the Human Rights Committee identifies and prioritizes issues to address, as well as creating questions for an intake form.
I second the motion.
Great. There we are.
And so now
And then you
vote.
have to do all in favor. I believe everybody has to roll call, right? Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So all in favor, Sarah,
Aye, yes.
Paul,
Aye.
Jen, Bailoff,
Yes.
not Holly, sorry, Holly. Mayuza,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Nikki,
Aye.
and Hannah. Aye. Great.
Okay.
It shall be so. Wonderful. Do we want to include in that number 8 on the agenda, establishing the intake process?
I
Can I
think
say- so-
those pieces kind of go together myself, but I don't know.
Can
what
I
you
just
all think.
confirm it's Nikki, Sarah, and myself for the subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jen Holmgren will also be joining.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Okay, so we'll put number 8 with that as well. Do we need to vote on that? That would be, okay,
I don't think so. Not for, no, I don't think so.
okay. Okay. All right. And then we have also number 9, same sort of deal, establishing protocol for code of ordinance. So also put with number 7. And I'll send you all who are on the subcommittee all of this from my notes as well.
So Jen, you just said any subcommittee meeting also has to be posted as well?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
And so it would also have to be the 48 hours.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. I'm just writing a note for myself. Telling myself what to do to send to you all. Okay. The last thing that actually was not on the agenda that I have added, because I just read the email last night. We received an email from the Gloucester Racial Justice Team. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with them, but essentially I'll just read part of it to you. They say, based on our mission statement, they believe that the Gloucester Racial Justice Team shares the same vision for the Human Rights Committee. And they want to share their observation and concern about the low level of racial diversity among our members. And they believe that having citizens from a range of races and ethnicities is an important step to both building trust with the minority community and to bringing insight and awareness to the Human Rights Commission that only a person of color can bring. And I'll just stop reading right there and say I thought that that's a very good point.
Can you send me a copy of that, please?
Yes, I
Yep.
sure will. I'll forward you the email. Forward to Holly. They're not suggesting, which is really, I really like this part. We are not suggesting displacing any of the commission members who have recently been appointed. What we would like to propose is that a number of seats on the commission be expanded, and they recommend adding at least 2 seats to be filled with citizens of color, and they're happy to offer their assistance in identifying and reaching out to qualified citizens who would be willing to serve.
That's a
I
marvelous idea.
personally
Sorry to
love,
interrupt. Yep.
oh, no, I personally love this idea.
Mhm.
So that's allowed, right? We can add more folks.
Yes,
Well,
it would have to, the ordinance.
Yeah, I
would have to
just
be
don't know
amended.
in the ordinance if it restricts it to a certain number, so we would have to maybe change that. Do you have it in front of you, Holly?
Yeah, I have the ordinance here, but I mean, would that be the mayor's decision?
It's the council. Or well, in collaboration with the mayor, but the council would have to amend the ordinance.
Okay,
I'd be happy to take that on. I totally agree. Representation matters. And,
absolutely.
Yep.
It
Yep.
seems
I
like
love that
everyone's
idea.
nodding their head on an agreement on this one.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jen, you'll take it to where will you take it to?
I'll take it to the mayor, and concurrently, I'll loop legal in on it, so that Attorney Basu and Attorney Payson can make some suggestions regarding language. It'll take a few weeks, which is great, because this whole committee is not convening for a few weeks. So I'm guessing, if all goes through, we're probably looking at late March, early April, before any of that is solidified. So anyway, good. I think that's great.
Okay.
Tell them thank you
Can I
for
just-
bringing it up.
Mayuza.
Yes, I just want to say that I spoke with the mayor months before we finished our group, and that was one of the reasons that she was waiting take that long for us to complete, was because she was waiting for she was trying to get to somebody, people of color and LGBTQ community to step forward. So this is as always the mayor's what she wants. Unfortunately, nobody stepped out to apply for. So I think it's a great idea, and I think she's going to be happy to extend it to
That's exciting.
more
Thank
cities.
you, Lisa.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm glad everybody's on the same page. Are you all comfortable with me writing back to them and letting them know our process that we're going to do? Is that fine with everyone? Okay, and then my second question is, shall I ask them for a list now, or ask them to get started on a list now of folks who might want to apply?
I believe the process to be on a committee is to send it to the mayor for approval. So yes, if somebody's interested, I would think that they could submit a letter of, isn't that how it's done? A letter of, intent? Yeah,
Yeah, letter of intent and
Just-
resume.
yeah.
Mhm.
Can we, have them, invite them and ask them to at least now to make sure that they're attending the meetings? So that while they may not be until somebody gets officially appointed, for, that we would really like for somebody from the team to be part of our meetings, even though they won't be official yet, but at least we can hear their voice as member of the public.
Yeah, I can
Um,
do that.
The Human Rights Commission in the Code of Ordinance here says there should be in the city commission known as the Gloucester Human Rights Commission herein called the commission, which shall consist of 7 members appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council to serve without compensation. The commission may have an addition one, okay. Yeah, so we would have to change this, the laws to add, yep.
Okay, great. So I'll convey that information. And I invited her here this evening, but she didn't come. So maybe someone will be more encouraged to come for next time. Oh, speaking of next time, are we having our first, are we going to be on this week of the month from now on Mondays?
I think we should probably keep it to the same day of the month. So that's up to you guys. That works for me. If we switch it back to the 2nd, then it would only be what, 2 weeks from now?
Like, yeah, right. So what week of the month are we in? I'm so sorry.
I don't remember the 4th. Every day looks the same.
It's the last,
Yes.
This is the 4th Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so 4th Monday of the month. And that will be next.
Please, February 22nd.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, and Mayuza, you are,
Holiday, is it? Because that's around President's Day. When is President's Day?
No, President's Day is the 15th.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Good.
What did
okay,
you say was the 22nd?
yeah,
Yeah.
February 22nd for the next meeting.
Need to post the agenda. I mean, I would say just it would be great to try to get that, to Holly or I, by 16th.
Yeah, or maybe even a bit earlier with all the,
There's a lot that needs to be done, and because I'm just new at it, it's best to have a little extra time.
yeah, why don't we make it a week before the meeting instead of a few days?
That would be helpful, yeah.
Okay. Everybody else, members on the commission, when I send you out the agenda, is that okay? Okay, all right, I will get that to you sooner and we'll get it out to y'all sooner, Holly.
Okay.
Okay, great. Mayuza, you're going to talk to us next time.
That's
Uh,
okay.
Okay. Okay.
There
Um,
is a member of the public with their hand raised.
Oh, great.
Oh, I don't
To
see
allow
it.
them. It's Rebecca Alberte. Would you like me to unmute
yeah.
her?
Yeah, I'm not seeing that at all. Where are we seeing it? Who's seeing it?
It's under if you click the participants button at the bottom, and then there's a tab for panelists and a tab for attendees.
I see it now. Okay, great. Yep, I can unmute her. Are you ready?
Yes, hi Hannah. Thank
Hi,
you very
Rebecca.
much for inviting me. Hi Jen.
Hi, Becky.
It was very informative, and it's just a remarkable panel of people, and I really appreciated the opportunity to observe your meetings, your thoughts, and all that you're planning to work with, and also Action Incorporated. It's good to hear you speak, Jennifer, about Action and all that you do too. So I just want to say thank you for inviting me, Hannah.
Absolutely. So do you go by Becky?
I prefer Rebecca, but
Okay,
Jen's an old
Rebecca.
friend, so
Oh,
she
sorry.
calls me Becky.
So it was
Sorry about
Rebecca
that.
who sent in the email about the translation device. So-
I ran an ESOL program in California for 7 years for the library, the Friends of the Library there, and the immigration situation in California at the time was the early 80s, and it was really a hot topic, and I just needed to be part of that, helping these people assimilate. And so I ended up working with immigrants for several years before I went back to college to become a teacher. But so it's very important to me. And unfortunately, I live bi-coastally, so I can't take on a student, but I fully support Wellspring's program. And I'm a volunteer at the library in the children's room, and I'm president of the Friends of the Sawyer Free Library too. So I think this is an important commission. Thank you so much for everybody volunteering to do this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining us and also for reaching out via email.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I need to go because I have another webinar in about 5 minutes.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Nice to see everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, great. And Mayuza, I'm putting you on for next time.
Okay.
And then we can adjourn. Oh, Jen, yes.
Sorry, one more thing. I'm hoping, if it's possible, it'll be time consuming for this evening, but could we invite Kathleen Mache to our next meeting to discuss the digital divide? She is trying to bridge the digital divide gap via the Essex County Community Foundation. If that's possible, it would be really cool to invite her.
Is her last name M-A-C-H-E?
Machet.
Okay. Great.
And
Do you,
and that was via the Essex County, what was it?
ECCF Essex County Community Foundation.
okay. Great. And would you like me to send an email out to her, Jen?
That is up to you. If you would like me to, I certainly can.
Okay, will you, since you?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll put that at the top of the agenda, yeah, for next time. Okay. Great. Shall we, any other questions, comments? No. Oh my gosh, I'm so pleased to be working with you all. Thank you all.
No, thank you.
Thank you. I feel the same.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, shall we
Amen.
adjourn? right.
I move for adjournment, that we adjourn at, let's see, it is 6:40. 6:40.
Great,
I second.
wonderful. Okay,
And do you have to do roll call or not to
Mhm.
adjourn? Yep.
I
yep.
do. Okay, let's do it. Sarah, Paul,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Yes.
Mayuza,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
and Hannah. Yes, great. Okay, wonderful. Thanks again.
You.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great
Thanks,
rest.
everyone.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye.
Be well. Take care.